Hey, so this is a slightly different format, but I think this is how I'm going to do most of my videos from now on. This is not a job for me, this is something I'm just going to do because it's a bit of fun to sit here and talk about my opinions, sort of untamed by what I normally write about different devices. So I'm going to have this more casual setup, I'm going to talk just off the cuff and probably tone down the production value. I feel like maybe the videos won't be quite so polished, but that's not my speciality. We're going to be here, videos are going to be shorter, and I'm going to be just talking about what you guys want to hear. So today we're going to start things off by talking about the new iPad Mini, the iPad Mini 7th generation, and the Apple Pencil Pro, just because I've got both of the devices. If you like this sort of content, this new sort of content, please drop a like on this video, maybe leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Now, let's get into it. So like most people, on a night before I go to bed or in the morning, I typically watch YouTube content or some Netflix maybe, watch a show in bed. Maybe an iPad's a pretty good device to do that. Probably one of the biggest screen. The iPad Mini, especially the Mini 7, it's not actually that great as a content watching device. I've just pulled up a YouTube video here, one of mine, about the actually smart summon on a Tesla. And you can see the screen's not brilliant. If I just pull up a smartphone that's sat here on my desk to compare, it's actually the Moto G55, nothing special. But you can see that, that's what we're probably pretty familiar with, watching YouTube content, not the biggest screen. If I bring the iPad back to compare, well, a bit bigger. It's not, a huge difference. The actual screen real estate size is probably only slightly bigger than that of a phone. So it's not the most optimal viewing experience if you want to watch YouTube or even longer shows or films like Netflix. And in all honesty, I prefer using my laptop because if I'm laying down in bed, head's on the pillow, I can rest the bottom of the laptop here on my chest, and then the screen's right here above my face. That's personal preference. That's what I enjoy using it for. So if not content watching, what would you actually use the iPad 7 for? Well, since it supports the new Apple Pencil Pro, it's going to be a pretty good one for drawing. I mean, I'm not an artist myself, definitely not, but my fiance is, so I'm sure she'd do some art with this, or sketching, or whatever. Paintings, I know there are different apps for that. Procreate's one of the most popular ones. Pixelmator's also got an app, and all manner of things. That's really not, so that's not what I'm going to do. Though this would be a pretty handy sketch pad for anyone who wants to carry something about on the go. It's definitely a lot smaller than the iPad Air or an iPad Pro. So if you just want something you can put in your pocket or in a handbag to carry around, this would probably be that. Beyond that, I'm sure a lot of people probably use this sort of thing for emails. You can scroll through your emails and it'll come up on the screen and you can type through, or even scrolling through Twitter or X or other social media profiles, just being able to hold it up like this. It's a slightly bigger screen than your phone, so you'll be able to read content a little bit more easily or see Instagram pictures in a bigger size. Instagram still doesn't have an iPad app for some reason, but you get the gist of it. Like, a lot of people can do scrolling through that. For me, again, probably not a great use case. I prefer using Twitter or social media platforms online, get to schedule stuff, or I use different tools, so that's just typically what I do. And if I'm scrolling Twitter, I'm probably already on my phone. As unhealthy as that might be, I'm probably just going to be scrolling through it anyway on the device that's already in my hand. So the iPad's probably not going to come in for use there. So if not for content watching, replying to emails, or even scrolling social media, what the hell am I going to use the iPad Mini 7 for? The answer may surprise you, may not be what you're expecting, but it's probably the most honest answer for me. It's actually better used as a notepad rather than an iPad. I know, just bear with me for a second. This is not the outlandish take that it might be. There are different devices purpose-built to be notepads, like the Kindle Scribe or the Remarkable notepads, those sort of things, where it's e-ink and you have a stylus and you write down and you jot down some notes, and they're probably a little bit cheaper. I believe the Remarkable and the Kindle Scribes retail for around $300 or $350 in your local currency, so a bit cheaper than the iPad Mini 7. But the iPad Mini 7 is obviously in full colour, and you can do everything else on it if you so desired. And it's also going to sync with your iPhone or with your Mac, both of which I use. So you'd have your notes everywhere. What's really great is when you use the Apple Pencil Pro, because obviously you can just scribble down your notes, and that's pretty ideal. The handwriting is really great. I know you can do different things if you squeeze the pencil or if you turn it on tilt, but that's more for when you colour. Just as a notepad, the pencil's really comfortable to hold and you can write pretty quickly using it. Obviously, your notes are going to sync across iCloud, which is a must-have for me as someone who works on a Mac. And the other feature that I actually really love and has been more useful than I actually thought is Math Notes, which is new in iPadOS 18 or iOS 18, where if you draw equations on the iPad mini or on the iPad screen in the Notes app, it's going to solve them for you, and it's actually going to write it back to you in your own handwriting. I don't work with maths. I write tech reviews. I work with PR firms. I do consulting for startups. I don't need to do complex maths equations. But if I ever do need to jot some stuff down, if I'm making notes in a meeting, I just need to do some quick sums, especially when it comes to budget stuff. If I need to just quickly add up some numbers, I can just scribble them down and have the iPad do it for me. That's just so much easier because I can't do the maths, but because I can spend more time paying attention as to what's going on in a meeting, because I'm not doing calculations in my head or typing numbers into a calculator. I'm just scribbling stuff down as it happens, and it's solving the equations for me. So that's really handy. But beyond that, this might be a really boring answer, but this is the perfect notepad for me. I take a lot of notes. I've always been someone that has a notepad around, so I can take analog notes because I like writing things down rather than typing. And I think the iPad mini 7 is actually going to bridge the gap between them perfectly. I can still write things down manually using the pencil, but everything's going to be synced in digital, which is ideal for when it comes to work. So that's my pretty honest opinion on what the iPad mini 7 can be used for, or at least what I'm going to use it for. I mean, in terms of reviewing the device in a little bit more detail, I know a few people have been concerned about Jelly Scroll. I mean, I believe it's actually still exists, and probably to a lesser degree. I didn't have the iPad mini 6, but from videos I've seen on it, or even using it in the store, you can notice a Jelly Scroll on it. Using this, you can notice it ever so slightly, especially if you slow the clip down, but it's really not that bad. I mean, I can't particularly stand using a 60 Hz display as a device I'd scroll on a lot, which is perhaps another reason I don't use it for social media scrolling, but for me, that's not a problem. The other surprising thing I wanted to mention in the review is that it took me forever to find the volume buttons. This is clearly just me, but the last time I used an iPad, here on the side. On this one, not so, because that's where you dock and stow the Apple Pencil Pro. So the volume buttons are actually here on the top next to the power button with Touch ID. It took me forever to find them. I actually had to Google a picture to look where they were. Gave this device to my fiance. She actually managed to work out where they were, coming from a 5th generation iPad Air. So maybe that's just me being a bit thick, but it's something to note. Beyond that, I like the colours, although I believe they're a little bit muted in the iPad mini 6. They still look pretty great. But in terms of what I'm going to use the iPad mini 7 for, it's going to be my new notebook. So that's everything I have to say about the iPad mini 7. Perhaps this isn't a review, perhaps this isn't particularly useful for you who wants to know the maximum potential you can draw out of this machine, but it's my honest thoughts and feelings about this device. It's what I'm going to be using it for. Call it my ramblings if you want, but that's what this is designed for. We're going to sit here, we're going to talk about the devices in 110% honesty. Do I think you should go out and buy the iPad mini 7? I do. I think it's an excellent device for the price. Yes, it's got its limitations, but for the price tag that comes alongside it, I think it's an insta-buy. Jelly scrolling aside, which is not great. I mean, I would have expected Apple to fix that. It's going to be great for scrolling, for reading stuff, for browsing the internet, which is what you buy a device like this for. If you want to do some drawing, some light sketches, Procreate, Pixelmate, even the Freeform app are fantastic for doing sketches or even more detailed drawings. But beyond that, yes, it's got the new A17 Pro chipset. Yes, it has Apple Intelligence, but you're probably not going to be using any of that stuff on a device so small and so limited. It's a notebook for me, at least. It's going to be a scrolling device for you, and maybe, just maybe, you're going to watch some content on it. Thank you for watching this. If you liked the video, please drop a like, leave me a comment as to whether or not you like this more format or you want to go back to seeing some polished stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.